Welcome back to Dan's channel. Today, let's learn about the manga Yu-Gi-Oh! King of Games. Throughout the series are thrilling, interesting episodes revolving around a fictional game called Duel Monster, and the main character Yugi Muto. Besides, there are characters who, although they do not have much acting space, still have an extremely important contribution to this legendary manga. The character that leaves a deep impression in the hearts of Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans is the arrogant young man, Kaiba Seto, who has a special connection with the legendary White Dragon card named Blue Eyes White Dragon. Let's learn interesting things about Kaiba and this monster card with Dan. Number 1. Kaiba Seto's dark past. Completely different from Yugi Muto, Kaiba Seto experienced a miserable and unhappy childhood. Mother died after giving birth to a younger brother. The father had to take care of 2 young children alone. Finally, the father also left the 2 brothers after an unfortunate accident. 2 brothers Kaiba Makuba became orphans, and began suffering from here. Because of going through so many events in a row, the Kaiba brothers became introverted, less communicative with others. With special qualities and bright appearance, Kaiba is desired by many wealthy families to adopt. However, he always flatly refuses all these rare opportunities, because the condition he gives is that both he and his younger brother, Makuba, are adopted. Sometime later, Mr. Kaba Goramuro, director of Kaiba Corp Company, adopted Seto and his younger brother after the death of his son, Kabanoa. The 2 brothers thought they would have happy days, but their lives were even more miserable and dark. As soon as he was received, Seto was crammed with a lot of knowledge about the market by his adoptive father. Because Kaba Goramuro wants him to be his successor. In fact, he did not love Seto at all. Even the simplest dreams of a child were extinguished by Kaiba Goramuro. Unable to bear it, at the age of 13, Seto quietly carried out a coup to overthrow Mr. Goramuro. After becoming the company's director, he built Kabaling, a famous amusement park for poor children. Not only that, Seto is also the creator of the magic card battle screen that displays the image of monsters, as well as the playing card robot, and 3D simulation device. Number 2. Kaiba Seto's predecessor. The truth is that Kaiba Seto's Egyptian predecessor was the shaman holding the staff for 1,000 years, recorded on ancient Egyptian stone 3,000 years ago. Not only that, this deity Seto is also the son of Akhenaten, who possesses the 1,000-year eye, and is also the twin brother of Pharaoh Akhma no Khanen, Atem's father. It can be said that, according to kinship, the priest Seto is the cousin of the Dark Yugi, Pharaoh Atem, and also one of the legitimate heirs to the throne. Number 3. Inspiration to create the character Kaiba. The series creator Kiyuki Tabahashi once explained that the idea for the character Kaiba came from an uncomfortable encounter with an arrogant collector of game cards. This person refused to teach the author the rules of a card game, and even teased that, "You can come back here if you collect 10,000 cards." This scene is quite similar to the scene between Kaiba and Yunochi in manga. Once we have a character, we need a name to represent. And the author took the name of one of the 9 supreme Egyptian gods, God Seth. In Japanese also known as Seto, god of the desert, storms and war. The god Seth also carries a scepter similar to the 1,000-year-old scepter that Kaiba's Egyptian forerunner, the priest Seto, used to carry. Number 4. Blue Eyes White Dragon card. Referring to Kaiba Seto, it is impossible not to mention the Blue Eyes White Dragon card, the card that made his name. However, not everyone knows all the following interesting things that Dan brings. The first is the monster's appearance. Although it is named Blue Eyes White Dragon, in most versions from cards to anime, the image of this dragon is always depicted with a blue skin. Perhaps that's why many people call this card the Blue Eyes Dragon. In the game Yu-Gi-Oh! The False-Bound Kingdom of the Nintendo GameCube, 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon are named Azrael, Ibris and Jibril, respectively. The second is the power of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. The Blue Eyes White Dragon is described as a legendary monster, with the power to destroy anything it wants. Therefore, among the normal monster cards, the Blue Eyes White Dragon is the card with the highest attack power of the normal monster cards, with attack stat up to 3,000, defense stat 2,500 and level 8 star. Also interesting, when summoning on the field all 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon monsters in fusion, they will merge into a 3-headed, 6-pointed Blue Eyes White Dragon monster, with the same strength as the average of their individual cards. Right from the first time appearing in the manga, Kaiba Seto has shown a great craving for the Blue Eyes White Dragon card. At the time, most of us assumed that Kaiba Seto had a strong affinity for these 3 special monster cards, just because they were strong, but the truth is not. From a young age, despite having to cram a lot of business knowledge, during his studies, Kaiba Seto always envisioned and portrayed the image of a mysterious white dragon. It gave him the idea to develop a game technology of his own. At this point, we can dimly realize that there must be some connection between Kaiba Seto and the Blue Eyes White Dragon card. Third, the connection between Kaiba Seto and the Blue Eyes White Dragon card. 3,000 years ago, the love affair between the priest Seto and a slave girl named Kisara began. Legend has it that the blue-eyed white dragon is the monster that resides in Kisara's soul. Unlike all Egyptians at that time, Kisara had long hair in a white skin, with big round blue eyes. Because of this difference, she was almost stoned to death by the people here. Fortunately, the priest Seto saved her. After that, special feelings began to appear between them. Kisara became the only light to guide the lost soul of the priest Seto, freeing him from the mind control of his own father, Aladdin. At the most critical moment of the war, Kisara accepted to sacrifice herself to free the beast's soul to join forces with Seto, to defeat his evil father. Since then, the priest Seto officially became the new owner of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. That is also the explanation for the special bond between Kaiba Seto and 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon cards at the present time. Fourth, the close relationship persists in the present. In the early episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh!, during a visit to Yugi's grandfather's game shop, Kaiba Seto saw a Blue Eyes White Dragon card. Despite possessing 3 cards, his passion was so strong that he was willing to exchange a large suitcase just for that special card, but was immediately rejected by Shiroku. Therefore, Kaiba Seto uses all tricks to steal. He was eventually discovered by Yugi. Kaiba tore apart Grandpa Yugi's Blue Eyes White Dragon card, so he could be the sole owner of it. Despite many tricks, in the end, both Kaiba and the 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon cards suffered the same tragic fate, and received punishment from Yugi and the god of power Exodia. However, after all the events, the Blue Eyes White Dragon finally returned to Kaiba Seto, joining him in tournaments, creating the brand of the pair Kaiba Seto, the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Fifth, there are more than 3 versions of the Blue Eyes White Dragon monster card. It can be said that the Blue Eyes White Dragon monster card is also one of the important symbols of the series. That's why we won't be too surprised when the manufacturer produces a lot of versions of this dragon, as well as taking ideas from it. Here are some pictures of the cards for your reference. Above are interesting things about the Blue Eyes White Dragon card and Kaiba Seto. If you like it, please leave a comment below to let me know. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel, so you don't miss any of our videos. See you guys in the next videos.